All right, welcome to the explainer. When it comes to weight loss, it feels like the rules are always changing, right? But the one thing that seems to stick is eat less, move more. Well, what if I told you there's a way to eat more food and still lose weight? Sounds kind of crazy, but in this explainer, we're going to dive into the science that completely flips that old idea on its head. So, how is that even possible? I mean, really, how can you eat more and somehow the number on the scale goes down? It sounds like a total riddle, doesn't it? But it's not a trick, I promise. It's actually a super important principle in nutrition that honestly could completely change how you think about every single meal you eat. Okay, so the secret here isn't magic. It all comes down to this one simple but seriously powerful idea called energy density. And trust me, once you get your head around this, it's going to change the way you look at your plate forever. So what is it? Well, let me break it down. Picture this. You've got a pound of broccoli in one hand and a pound of chocolate in the other. They weigh exactly the same, right? But you and I both know they have wildly different amounts of energy, or, calories, packed inside. And that huge difference, that is energy density. So let's zoom in and see what's really going on here. Foods with low energy density, think fruits, veggies, soups, are packed with water and fiber. They literally take up more space in your stomach, which sends those, hey, I'm full signals to your brain. But, and this is the key part, they do it with way fewer calories. Now, on the flip side, you have your high energy foods. Think biscuits, nuts, chocolate. These are the exact opposite. A whole lot of calories squeezed into a tiny, not so filling package. And this is where the numbers get, well, pretty mind-blowing. Look at fat. It packs in 9 calories per gram. That's more than double what you get from protein or carbs. This is a total game changer because it means you can slash the calories in a meal just by being a little more mindful of the fat, and you don't even have to shrink your portion size. And here's a perfect real-world example. You could have a tiny handful of raisins, or you could have a huge, satisfying bowl of melon. The melon gives you so much more food to actually eat, but for about half the calories. That right there, that's the power of energy density in action. You're literally eating more, but taking in less energy. Okay, so it seems pretty simple, right? Just pick low energy density foods. But hold on, because there's a plot twist. It turns out there's another equally huge factor we need to talk about, and it's all about what happens to our food long before it ever hits our plate. So, check this out. Researchers over at University College London did this really fascinating study. They came up with 2 totally different diets, but here's the clever part. They were nutritionally identical. Same amount of fat, same sugar, same salt, same fiber, all of it. But there was one massive difference between them. And that one difference, it was how processed the food was. So one group ate a diet full of minimally processed foods. The kind of stuff you'd make yourself from scratch. The other group, their diet was all ultra-processed foods. Think ready meals, packaged snacks, that kind of thing. And the results were just staggering. Now remember, both groups could eat as much as they wanted, no calorie counting. But get this, the group on the minimally processed diet lost almost twice as much weight over the 8 weeks. Just wow. Yeah, you heard that right. A 2-fold difference. And it came from just changing the form of the food, not the nutrition label. This is a massive clue, right? It tells us that the way our food is processed has a direct, powerful impact on how our bodies manage weight. And the lead author of the study, Dr. Samuel Dickin, he really drives this point home. He said, look, on paper, both diets were healthy and met all the guidelines. But the reality was the minimally processed diet was way, way more effective for weight loss. And again, this was without anyone even trying to eat less. But here's where it gets really interesting. It wasn't just about weight. The people on the minimally processed diet also said they had way better control over their cravings. Which really makes you wonder, right? It suggests that maybe these ultra-processed foods are designed in a way that just bypasses our body's natural I'm full signals. So all of this research, it really forces us to step back and ask a much bigger question. I mean, if 2 diets that are both technically healthy can have such crazy different outcomes, what are we even aiming for? Is the only goal to hit some magic number on a scale? Well, according to the latest clinical guidelines from the Association for the Study of Obesity in Ireland, the answer is a big, resounding no. They're basically saying we need to completely rethink this obsession with the scale. We need to shift our focus entirely. So instead, they're pushing this idea of a best weight. Now, this isn't some target number that you're supposed to torture yourself to reach. No, it's the weight your body naturally settles into when you're living in a way that's healthy, sustainable, and, this is the important part, actually enjoyable. The focus is on your quality of life, not just a number. And honestly, isn't that a totally liberating idea? It means there is no single perfect diet that everyone has to follow. Whether you're into a Mediterranean style or you're vegetarian or you're following DASH, the evidence shows that tons of different eating patterns work. The best one? It's the one you can actually stick with long term and feel good about. And that focus on sticking with it is so crucial. Why? Because our bodies are incredibly smart. If you just slash your calories, your body kind of freaks out. It thinks there's a famine, so it fights back. It cranks up your hunger and slows down your metabolism to protect you. It's a survival instinct, and it's why just starving yourself almost never works in the long run. So the whole game is changing. It's moving away from those quick, short-term fixes and shifting towards building a personalized, long-term relationship with food, one that actually supports your health and, makes you feel great. Okay, so we've covered a lot, right? We've talked energy density, food processing, and this whole new idea of a best weight. So how do we actually pull all this together into a strategy that works in real life? All right, let's build a practical toolkit from everything we've talked about. First up, prioritize quality. Build your meals around those awesome low energy density foods we talked about. Fruits, veggies, the stuff that fills you up, not out. Second, understand processing. That UCL study was a wake-up call, right? So whenever you can, choose the minimally processed option. It can make a huge difference. Third, personalize your pattern. Find a healthy way of eating that actually fits your life, your preferences. That's the secret to long-term success. And finally, and this might be the most important one, redefine what success even looks like. Forget obsessing about the scale. Instead, focus on how you feel, your energy, your mood, how easily you can move. That's the real measure of health. So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. What if this whole relentless search for the one perfect diet is actually the problem? What if the real goal isn't to be on a diet at all, but to build a set of smart, flexible principles for life, a way of eating that's sustainable, enjoyable, and makes you feel your absolute best?